Today, let's reflect on one of the common struggles. Some people deal with it daily, others face it in relationships or in society. The issue of personal ego is natural. Every person feels themselves as the center. The word I places a person at the center, and sometimes this clashes with others. It's not easy to overcome one's ego. Let's examine here the words of King Solomon in the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 27. Solomon says, "A person who seeks goodness will find favor." Rabbi Abraham ibn Ezra explains, what does it mean, seeking goodness? What does seeking mean in Hebrew? It refers to someone who seeks justice. Seeking is from the word for dawn, meaning someone for whom the issue is so important that they are willing to rise early, wait by the house of someone who can help with the matter. This is called a person who seeks goodness. Here, it refers to someone who seeks the good for everyone. Such a person, who is a seeker of goodness, will seek favor. This means that even in a situation of tension with a friend, with his wife, or a woman with her husband, the person will admit, "I made a mistake, I spoke out of turn, I hurt the other person." True, the other side also reacted, reprimanded, and hurt him, and from this, a certain kind of argument developed. But, says King Solomon, if you are someone who seeks goodness, you are truly good at your core. Your aspiration, your desire is that everything around you should be good. You will seek favor, meaning you will seek to please your friend. You will give up your ego. You will approach your friend, approach your wife, and say, "I apologize, I made a mistake." It's important to note that sometimes people apologize, but this can make the argument worse. "I apologize for speaking to you that way yesterday, but you drove me crazy." Then she responds, "You," and he answers back, and it turns into a bigger argument. One must apologize without the but. "What I said yesterday was out of line. I got carried away. I exaggerated. I apologize." That's it. Stop there. Usually, when you stop at this point, the other side opens up more, and they also apologize. Even if they don't, this means giving up the ego, and it's not easy. The I of a person, by nature, by creation, stands at the center, and there are merits in this. A person who feels like they are nothing, that they are worthless, will have no motivation to act or do anything. Other people can trample on them because they feel they don't value themselves. So, on one hand, a person should recognize their own worth. But someone who recognizes their greatness knows that there's no shame or humiliation in this. On the contrary, it shows true greatness when, in moments of tension, they give up their ego and know how to lower their head. They seek favor. They want to please their friend, to reconcile with them, in order to create peace and unity. This path will certainly pay off, both in the eyes of God and in the hereafter, but also in this world. How many couples who divorced would not have reached that point if they had given up their egos from the start? Because the ego causes a person to fortify themselves. They feel there is humiliation, a kind of submission, and they say, "I won't give in, I won't let go." How many times have men told me that they just can't take it anymore? "My wife always complains, nags, nothing is good. I can't go back home, I don't want to go back to the house." And then he reaches the conclusion that because he is so unhappy, he would rather break up. Usually, when you ask a man what his wife complains about, the answer is that he's not investing enough in her, that he's not caring enough, and that they don't communicate properly. And she doesn't understand that he's busy. He always has excuses. Maybe he's 100% right. But I always say to him, "Come on, that's the whole point. This isn't some tension that's impossible to resolve. You're saying it's hard for you? If you take all the money you want to spend on lawyers now and invest it in your wife, buy her gifts, take her to a hotel, cheer her up, go out to a restaurant with her, buy her flowers, the time you want to spend on lawyers and custody arrangements for the kids, take that time and invest it in your wife. come home a little earlier. You'll have to leave work to go to the lawyer, right? So leave work, go to your wife, sit with her, talk to her, show her you care, call her from work and ask how she is. Why doesn't he think of that on his own? Ego. She doesn't appeal to me, she doesn't align with my desires. So why should I align with hers? But you're losing. She's losing. The kids are losing. And there's a great principle that one of the great leaders of Israel in previous generations said. It's already rooted in the teachings of the sages, but he shared a story he personally experienced and said how much he learned from it. He said that once he was walking through a forest, needing to cross from one place to another. He saw a villager building himself a wooden hut with the trees he had cut. When you chop trees, they have branches, and you need to fit one log next to another to build the hut. The issue is that each log, even after the branches are cut off, has a small protrusion, a remnant of that branch. He said, I sat there to rest, and in the meantime, I watched what he was doing. I was sure that before he put one log next to another, he would cut off all those protrusions to make them even, because everything has to fit tightly so no wind can get into the hut. To my surprise, I saw that he didn't remove the protrusions. Instead of removing them, he drilled a hole in the opposite log and inserted the protrusion into the hole. That way, he created a much stronger wall. In other words, he turned the flaw into an advantage. Instead of removing the flaw, he adapted the other log to it. They connected, and in the end, he achieved a much stronger and unified structure. There are also studies and experience that show in many couples that after crises, when they thought, that's it, we can't do this anymore, were separating, and then decided to transcend themselves, to let go of their inner ego, and each one moved toward the other. It turns out that after they returned to living together, their lives became much happier. The unity between them became even stronger than before they fought, even before they had a chance to argue. They felt good. We're living well. We're happy together. Something happened. Tensions arose. But once they achieved real peace at home, they returned to unity, even stronger than before they married, because the breakdown made them understand each other more, sacrifice, and go toward each other. And then, just like the logs that connected and united. I once read that in a certain province in China or Japan, they have a unique tradition. They use a lot of ceramic tools, pottery, teapots, and often these items are expensive, made of luxurious materials. Sometimes a teapot, vase, or any vessel used for pouring drinks may fall and break into several pieces. What happens around the world in such a situation? Usually, if something is broken, people throw it away. But in this place, they have a principle that has been passed down through generations. They don't throw it away. They take the broken luxury ceramic item, repair it with gold, pour gold into the cracks, and then piece it back together. It turns out the object becomes even more beautiful than it was before it broke. The same applies to relationships. If you repair and unite with gold, with true willingness for compromise, you can create something much more beautiful, an even stronger unity. Now, there is also understanding. Before, I didn't know what bothered her. I didn't understand her. Now, after living together, I know what bothers her. I understand her mindset. The sages said, just as their faces do not look alike, so their opinions do not align. This is written in the Jerusalem Talmud. What does it mean? What kind of comparison is this? Just as faces are not alike, so opinions are not alike. What are they trying to teach us? We all know that faces are different, and opinions vary, but what is the comparison? The sages want to teach us not to get angry with someone whose opinion is different from ours, even a stranger, let alone within a marriage, between a wife and a husband. Their habits are different, their desires are different. The sages teach us in the Jerusalem Talmud, imagine walking down the street, seeing a person you don't know. You approach him and say, "You know, you really annoy me. What did I do to you? Why does your face look different from mine?" Is there a situation where someone complains about another just because they look different? "You're not like me, so I hate you. I'm angry with you." You didn't choose your face. You got the face you have. The same goes for opinions. Just as you don't get angry with someone because they have a different face, don't get angry with them because they have a different opinion. They were given a different mind, a different background, and different tools for life. Of course, when learning Torah, the Torah aligns everyone's thoughts in a healthy, logical way to the right balance. But by nature, everyone has a different opinion. They're not supposed to think the way you think. So why get angry? Why argue? Even with strangers, let alone within marriage, a person needs to know how to control themselves, to give in, lower their ego, and know that they will ultimately gain much more from this approach. I once read about a Jew who came to a lawyer in Tel Aviv. He entered, angry, upset, and fuming. He spoke with great passion. "Open a file at the rabbinical court. I'll pay whatever is needed. I've decided to get a divorce." The lawyer asked him, "What happened? Tell me a bit about yourself." "Well, I've been married for 5 years. My wife is always bothering me, always complaining that I'm not good enough. No matter how much I try, she'll say I'm still not good enough. I can't hear it anymore. Although I know I'm not perfect, I also have things to improve and fix. But she's just making my life miserable. I can't take it anymore. I want a divorce. Open the file. Prepare everything." "But not before 2 months," the man added. The lawyer replied, "No problem, but why the 2 months?" "What will you do in the next 2 months?" the lawyer asked. The man responded, "2 months ago, I didn't want a divorce. For 5 years, she bothered me. For the next 2 months, I want to bother her, criticize her, give her the same feedback she gave me for 5 years. I need to return the favor before we divorce. After those 2 months, I'll divorce in peace, knowing I've paid her back." The lawyer said, "I don't understand you. If you want to know how to bother someone, let me teach you how. If you're going to torment her for 2 months, when you get divorced, she'll thank God she got rid of someone like you. For the rest of her life, she'll be happy." "So, what do you want me to do?" The lawyer said. "For these 2 months, be the best man in the world and then divorce her. For the rest of her life, she'll regret losing a man like you." The man said, "That's an interesting way of thinking. How do I do that?" The lawyer replied, "When was the last time you bought her flowers?" The man responded, "I don't even remember. It's been years." "When was the last time you took her out to a restaurant?" "Took her out and said, 'Let's eat something together.'" "About a year and a half ago." The lawyer said, "Listen carefully. Now you're going to leave here. I'll start preparing the file. No problem. Go to a flower shop. Buy a bouquet bigger than the one you gave her when you proposed. Write her something nice on the card. 'You're a wonderful woman. There's no one like you. I can't live without you.' All the warm and kind words. Then bring it to her. In a few days, take her out to a restaurant. During these days, whenever she complains, just say, 'I'm sorry, you're right,' without arguing. Help her with the preparations for Shabbat. Take care of the kids. Do everything. When 2 months have passed and you're ready to give her the divorce, she'll cry for the rest of her life about how she lost a man like you." The man responded, "Listen, you're a genius. I'm doing this." 2 months later, the lawyer calls. "Everything's ready. You're invited to the court." The man asks, "For what?" "You wanted a divorce." The man replies, "Are you crazy? A woman like that She speaks well, she respects me, she's wonderful, she's a good woman. What happened? He started investing in the relationship and she changed too. It's a natural thing. But when a person is stubborn and says, she hurt me, so now I'm going to get back at her, they only harm themselves. What does this lead to? True, it requires great effort to give in and let go of the ego. Let's say a person has saved for 50 years $1 million. Would they easily give it up? It's a huge sacrifice. But if they knew that by giving up the million, they would get a building worth $1 billion with their name on it, they would gladly sacrifice the million. The same applies when a person sacrifices their ego for the sake of others. It's a great sacrifice. It's a change, a feeling that they're about to burst with their pride. Interestingly, the word ego is in English, and the word for pride is in Hebrew. The letters of pride are contained within ego. Many words in Hebrew show a kind of distortion in other languages. In the code book, I gave many examples of this. When a person lets go of their ego, they feel they are sacrificing a lot, and they are indeed sacrificing a lot. It's not easy, but they know what they're gaining in return. You sacrifice $1 million, you gain $1 billion. This principle applies even in this world, let alone in the world to come. The Talmud says, whoever lets go of their anger, God will forgive all their sins. This is a statement that should always give strength in moments of struggle, when a person says to themselves, yes, I'm hurt, yes, the other person is wrong, I have a response, but right now, I will hold back, I will apologize. The person feels, I will apologize, she needs to apologize. Or the woman says, he needs to apologize, but they say, for the sake of peace, I will offer my apology. There's a sacrifice involved. Whoever lets go of their anger, their sins are forgiven. There are people who have no sins, as it is written, there is no righteous person on earth who does good and does not sin. Everyone according to their level, great sages or ordinary people. When a person sins and hasn't repented for it, it comes with a cost. But when they let go of their anger, the Holy One, blessed be He, erases their sins. Everything we've said so far is easy to say. The question is how to apply it, how one can really reach a point where they can overcome their pride and ego and achieve humility. The book Mesilat Yesharim, written by Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, is a small book with great depth. This book, when the Gaon of Vilna learned it, it was written a little after Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto passed away. He said to his students, if the author had been alive, it would have been fitting for me to walk on foot from Vilna. Where is Vilna? In Lithuania, to the author's city, Padua in Italy, just to meet him and say thank you for this work. This was said by the Gaon of Vilna, a man who had the entire Torah before him. In Israel, almost everyone was a genius, but when one refers to the genius, they mean Rabbi Elijah of Vilna. When you look at his books and works, if you take Einstein, Newton, and all the wise men, the Gaon of Vilna had them all beat. It is said that when he wrote his commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, the Shulchan Aruch is a codification of Jewish law, and he had his commentary called Or Hagra. On every section, he would write where it appeared in the Talmud, how the earlier authorities discussed it, citing sources and offering explanations, all from memory, without ever opening a book. Genius that is beyond description. When you see his innovations, the methodologies he applies, his new insights into verses, the precision with which he interprets the Talmud, anyone who studies this will say, this is genius, no doubt about it. This great man says, I would walk on foot, because it would not be fitting for me to come to the author with a horse and carriage, to thank him for Mesilat Yesharim, because this book, when studied from start to finish, makes a person a perfected individual. Whoever learns and applies it, every time one learns this book, they discover new pearls, treasures. You feel as though you're learning it for the first time, wondering how you didn't notice these insights before. Here we have Elder Naim, who is already studying Mesilat Yesharim. We've discussed it before, and thank God, I won't mention his name, because he's nodding his head to approve the words. So, he also deserves congratulations. Thank God, he built a faithful home in Israel. May he merit righteous and blessed generations. Let's read the words of the Ramchal from chapter 22 and chapter 23. He speaks about the ways of humility, how to acquire humility. We won't be able to cover everything, but we will read a few excerpts from chapter 23, where he starts with the words, two of them train a person in humility, habit and reflection. That is, habit, practically, a person needs to train themselves through action. Just like with the body, if you want strong muscles, you can't say, I'll sit at home and wait for them to develop. You have to start training, the muscles will develop little by little, and eventually you'll reach your goal. The Ramchal says that one thing that trains you in humility is this habit. Start training yourself practically to behave humbly. The second aspect is reflection, which is the intellectual part, engaging the mind in reflection. The combination of actions and reflection creates completeness through which a person can reach the level of humility. When he speaks about habit, how can a person train themselves? He gives a few examples. For instance, he suggests wearing respectable clothes, but not extravagant ones. There is someone who, financially, can afford luxury brands and expensive clothes, and wherever he goes, people notice his clothes and his watch. But he trains himself in the ways of humility, wearing respectable clothes that will not make him look disgraceful or degraded. However, he chooses simple clothes, not to make himself appear as something extraordinary. When in a social setting, he was always used to being the first one to stand out. Now he tells himself, I will take a step back, let others be at the forefront, I will walk further behind. Why? Because I want to train myself in humility, to break my pride, to break my ego. They sit and talk. He has something to say. People ask questions, and they discuss something. But he sees that the other person will speak in his place, even if he doesn't say it. The other will say it. He gives him the honor to speak. Even though he could outshine him, he allows the other person to receive the honor in his place. This is how a person trains themselves practically. Because speaking only in theory, if it doesn't translate into action, is just theory. It must be put into practice, where the person trains themselves. The second part is reflection. What should one reflect on? He brings several points of reflection here. In the previous chapter, he spoke about reflecting that everything a person has is a gift from God. So a person should ask, what do I have to be proud of? Everything I have is a divine gift. Here, he mentions several more points. One is mentioned in the words of Akavya ben Mahalalel, a famous Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers. Know where you came from. That is, think about the beginning of your journey in this world. How did you look? A drop that could have decayed? And where are you going? To a place of dust, decay, and worms? All the people who were here 100 or 150 years ago are no longer here. Where are they now? Beneath a gravestone, beneath the earth. This is how it starts and this is how it ends. So what do I have to be proud of? If this is my beginning and this is my end, I should be truthful with myself. And before whom will I give an account? Before the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. In truth, all of these reflections are the opposites of pride and help to cultivate humility. How can one be proud when a person reflects on this daily in their routine life? Let's skip ahead. Another thing that helps humility is the changing nature of time and its transformations. The language of the Ramchal is Hebrew, but somewhat archaic Hebrew. Once you get used to it, you come to really love it, his special style. You need to reflect on the words he uses here. He says another factor that brings a person to humility and removes them from their ego is the changing nature of time and its transformations. That is, look around. Things change with time. A rich person can become poor. A ruler can become a servant, and a respected person can be disrespected. Look around you and see people who were once wealthy, now they've collapsed. Those who were highly respected, something happened, and they became scorned people. When a person reflects on this, they realize that the pride they have today, because of wealth or status, could easily be lost. So, why indulge in illusions? How can one trust in their current status, which is uncertain? Let's skip ahead a little more. Another foundation of humility is avoiding things that lead to pride. Ramchal talks about things that can cause a person to lose their humility and become proud. He says to avoid such things, particularly the company of flatterers, who deceive people with false praise in order to gain favor. They praise him for qualities he doesn't have, and exaggerate the virtues he possesses to an extreme. There are situations when someone is a boss at work or holds a certain position, and people want to buy his favor by flattering him. They say, "You're like this, you're like that." These are lies, but the person begins to believe them because they're constantly being flattered. It's pleasant to hear compliments, but it's based on something false. No one likes counterfeit money, but people are often willing to accept counterfeit honor, even when they know they don't deserve it. The Ramchal warns us to beware of flatterers because they lead to pride. They make you imagine qualities you do not possess, causing you to believe you are perfect. There is no greater blessing for a person than having sincere friends. This is different from the modern Hebrew use of sincere, which can imply someone who is easy to deceive. In the language of the Torah, sincere means complete. As it is written, "Be complete with the Lord your God," meaning be at peace with him. Similarly, when the Ramchal speaks of sincere friends, he means friends who are whole and complete, genuine and trustworthy. True friends open your eyes to what you cannot see and correct you with love. A good friend will tell you, "Why are you speaking this way to your wife? Change your approach. It's not respectful. It's not fitting for you." They don't just say what is pleasant to hear, but also what is difficult to accept. They will remind you why waking up late caused you to miss prayer, or why you didn't attend an important lesson. But they do so with love and care. That is why it is said, "They will rebuke you with their love." Some people rebuke others to break them down, to make them feel worthless. But someone who truly loves you will correct you with sincerity because they care. These are the people who will save you. A person often fails to see their own flaws, not because they are blind, but because they do not want to see them. That is why others must help us recognize our shortcomings. As the saying goes, the camel does not see its own hump. A person may point out a friend's flaw, "You have a hump on your back," yet fail to see their own reflection. People naturally resist acknowledging their own weaknesses. That is why we need others to observe, understand, and warn us. Their guidance keeps us safe. Regarding this, it is written, "Victory is in the multitude of counselors." Having wise advisors and honest friends who give constructive advice is a great blessing. The Ramchal provides further guidance on overcoming pride, managing the ego, and embracing humility. Through these lessons, a person gains both goodness in this world and eternal reward in the next. Solomon summarizes this idea in the phrase, "a seeker of good." What does it mean to seek good? Initially, it means desiring good for others. But on a deeper level, it also means seeking good for yourself. A true seeker of good considers the will of others. Even when you feel, "But I am right," do not stay in conflict. Avoid unnecessary disputes, especially in close relationships. Strive to make peace. You will gain much more than you lose. The verse continues, "And the one who seeks evil for others, it will come upon him." As we have discussed in previous lessons, every verse has its opposite. Here, King Solomon contrasts the seeker of good with the seeker of harm. Consider a common conflict. One person says something hurtful, the other is offended and responds in anger. The cycle continues, and soon the person who was hurt begins wishing harm upon the other. But King Solomon warns, know this, the one who seeks evil for others will have that evil come back to him. The harm he wishes upon others will eventually return to him, both in natural consequences and spiritual suffering. Anyone who constantly stirs up disputes and seeks conflict will ultimately be harmed by it. Therefore, Solomon teaches, if you desire goodness for yourself, your surroundings, and your family, you must be a seeker of peace. Learn to value reconciliation over conflict. Seek peace, and you will find blessing. Give up on the ego, and you will have success both in this world and in the next. Until now, for example, in the book of Proverbs. And as we saw, in the book of Proverbs, all the parables are true in themselves, and essentially we can stop here. This is completely true. But there is also an allegory. In the allegory, the commentators explain that a seeker of good will ask for God's favor. Sometimes a person makes a mistake with regard to the Holy One. Blessed be he, in a parable that speaks of a person toward his friend. You know you've made a mistake, you've sinned. Don't stay stuck in it. Ask for favor. Ask to make peace with the Holy One. Blessed be he. Tell him you're sorry for what you've done, that you're starting fresh and you're changing. The more a person knows how to make peace with the Holy One, blessed be he, the more the Holy One will make peace with them. He says, return to me, and I will return to you. He desires that connection. He doesn't hold a grudge against Israel because we failed in some way. He wants us to return to him. Return, O children, return to your Lord. Many verses have been spoken about this matter. So what does the continuation of the verse, and the seeker of evil will be brought upon them, mean? There are situations where, when a person sins and then suffers in life, having difficulties and troubles, he starts to get angry with the Holy One, blessed be he, asking why he is doing this to him, as if he himself was perfectly fine with the Creator, and it is the Creator who is not behaving as he would want. Therefore, when a person directs complaints toward the heavens, Solomon says, and the seeker of evil will be brought upon them, meaning he loses more by doing so. Rabbeinu Yonah, who lived about 750 years ago in Spain, gives another interesting perspective on this verse in his explanation of the book of Proverbs. A seeker of good will asks for God's favor, and there is a great moral lesson here as well. A person who is good by nature, who is a seeker of good, asks the Holy One, blessed be he, for the good of his friend, asking for his favor on behalf of others. Our sages say, one who prays for his friend and needs the same thing, his prayer is answered first. A young man or woman wants to get married, and years pass by. They really want a family, they want children. Naturally, a person prays for themselves, and that's very good, but when they pray for others, for their friend to get married, for someone else to have children, for someone to have a livelihood, for health, not only for themselves, but for others as well, this is a seeker of good. What does it mean to want good for others? He asks for favor from the Holy One. Blessed be he, that he have favor toward others, to give them. Then he himself benefits first. Why is it that if someone prays for their friend and they need the same thing, they are answered first? There is a principle in the ways of how the Holy One, blessed be he, conducts himself. When a person asks for their friend and their prayer is accepted, they themselves benefit. You prayed for your friend, so it passes through you to him. When it passes through you, you also benefit from it, because it happens to you as well. The prayer is accepted even for yourself. This is how Rabbi Yonah explains this matter from another angle, that the good seeker will request what he desires. We will say a few more words on the subject of relationships, to give some more encouragement and advice in the book, The Complete Guide to Successful Marriages. We dedicated a whole chapter to the psychological differences between men and women. There are situations where the tension between partners is not necessarily out of ego. Ego is also involved, but it starts from a lack of understanding. He gets married with the intention of giving to her, and she gets married with the intention of giving to him. But if they don't learn the differences between men and women, he will treat her as if she is his friend, but she is a woman with different needs. There is a rule. Understanding means forgiving. When you understand the other side, where do their motives come from? It's easier to understand them and forgive them, even if their behavior is uncomfortable. When a husband complains about his wife, who demands too much, saying, "You want me to sit with you for hours? You want me to help, to do things, to say words? That's not me. I can't say so many nice things." What is his mistake? He judges her with a male mindset. Get into her head. See that she is not deceiving you. She really needs it, because that's how God created her. We brought several examples of research on these differences, all pointing to the fact that women are more family-oriented, more emotional, not only towards their family, but also towards others. A woman will meet a friend she hasn't seen for 2 years and ask, "How are your kids?" She is genuinely interested and she cares. We included sources from studies showing that when a man asks his friend about his children, he is not really interested. He asks just because he has to, but it doesn't really matter to him. For a woman, it's different. She lives the family life. She lives the children's lives. Another study conducted in Britain used a sleep lab. They gathered many men and women for the study, connected their brains to measuring devices, and tried to determine what sounds wake people from sleep the quickest, and if there is a difference between men and women. They played sounds and measured when the brain starts to wake up, even by a fraction of a second. It was found that the sound that wakes a woman from sleep the quickest is the cry of a baby. In the same study, it was found that a baby's cry did not appear in the top 10 sounds that wake men from sleep. It was only number 10. The husband wakes up in the morning. His wife is tired because she didn't sleep all night because the baby was crying. But he doesn't say anything. Someone cried, but he didn't hear anything all night. A woman wakes up quickly to the cry of a baby. She lives the children's lives. On the other hand, the study also revealed that the sound that wakes a man from sleep the quickest is the sound of a car alarm. Even if he doesn't own a car, he wakes up, thinking maybe a miracle happened and it's his car. You can see from the subconscious of a person what they live for. What does she live for? Couples walk by stores. Check out what windows a man is looking at and what windows a woman is looking at. He says to her, "What's there to look at? Let's move forward." He's interested in things that relate to technique, cars, tools, and weapons. She is more interested in things like clothing, strollers, things that relate more to her life. The Rambam says that once you understand how your wife is built, you will know how to behave with her, to give the abundance of family life, not according to the amount you need, but according to the amount she needs, and then you will have a happy wife. On the other hand, a wife needs to know that your husband is not a man like any other. Your husband is a man and needs to know how to treat him, elevate him, praise him, compliment him, show him for everything he does, how smart he is, how wise, even if he made a mistake. When a wise woman knows how to praise her husband, that he is smart, that he is wise, that he is successful, she gets a happy husband, a husband who flourishes. He will turn the world upside down for her. She doesn't diminish him. A wise woman, when she tells her husband, "You're a genius, you're wise," we mentioned this several times, always add another sentence. "And I know you got this from your mother." It's very important when he hears these things. My wife values my mother so much. So that's it. You become the most important person in his world. Life and death are in the hand of the tongue, said King Solomon. These are things worth investing in. A great investment on one hand, but a small one compared to the great benefit a person gets. We will dedicate these words of Torah, this lesson, to the protection of the people of Israel and the soldiers of Israel wherever they are, that God should return them all to their homes, healthy and safe, one by one. Amen.